Welcome to Recaply X, your movie recap in a flash. We bring the drama, the action, and the twists in minutes. The movie begins with a young boy named Mowgli, who was escaping with the wolves from a predator, and they were trying to escape from it. While he was running, he stepped on a tree trunk and it broke on the ground. The predator caught up with him. It was a tiger named Bagheera. We know that this tiger found Mowgli when he was a baby in the forest, and now he was training with him. His goal was not to eat Mowgli. You must not stray far from the wolf pack and run with them. But Mowgli does not take his words seriously and says to him, "I could have escaped from you by climbing the tree trunk that broke." Bagheera tells him, "You were also wrong to climb a dead tree. Since you live the life of wolves, you must know all this." We learn from their words that Mowgli is trying to live as a wolf, but he always failed the test. After that, Mowgli was taken by Bagheera to join the wolf pack. There we meet Mowgli's father and mother, whose name is Akela and Rake. They raised Mowgli for many years, but Mowgli was facing difficulty in acting like them as a wolf. He did not know how to get along with his younger wolf sisters. His mother, Rakesha, asked him how Mowgli did in the test. He told her that he failed as usual. After that, all the wolves howl at the same time, and Mowgli follows them. After a while, the rainy season ends, and as a result, the forest is struck by drought. However, it seems that the drought in this season will be so severe that the lake in which the water is located dries up significantly, and a rock appears that was at the bottom of the lake, and its name is the Rock of Peace. According to the law of the jungle, when the Rock of Peace appears, peace reigns in the forest. Animals are forbidden to hunt each other, and everyone can gather and drink from the water in peace. Indeed, we see the fierce animals drinking water side by side with the rest of the animals, and Mowgli appears and sees all the animals. Gathered and excited to go to the lake, Rakesha tells him that these animals have never seen a human before, so he must behave well with them. Mowgli goes down among the animals, and despite the warnings that his mother gave him, he throws a basket in the lake to drink water, and the animals are afraid of him. Akela intervenes and says to Mowgli, "You are supposed to be a wolf, and it is not appropriate for you to behave this way." Then, Akela sees birds in the sky flying strangely and understands that a dangerous animal is coming, so he orders Mowgli to hide behind him and does not move. Indeed, after seconds, a dangerous tiger named Shere Khan appears and goes to the lake to drink, and the animals are afraid of him and move away from him. Shere Khan is surprised when he smells the scent of a human and wonders if there are humans here. Akela responds to him and says to him, "There is a human living with us, and I consider him one of us." All the wolves stand ready to defend Mowgli in any way, and Shere Khan tells them, "Since when did a human live with us in the forest? The injury on my face came to me from a human. It is against the rule of the forest." Rakesha said to him, "You don't respect the laws of the jungle." Shere Khan said, "I will come back again when the river fills up and I will kill him." After several months, the rain begins to return again and the drought ends. Mowgli watches from afar the wolves as they gather every day and come together to decide what to do with Mowgli. Mowgli decides to join them and decides to leave the forest so that none of the wolves get hurt because of him. All the wolves agree to this idea except for Rakesha, because she considers Mowgli her son and does not want him to leave. But Akela tells her that Mowgli's decision is the right one and he must join the humans. It is better for him and for us. He says goodbye and leaves. On the same night, Bagheera and Mowgli ask for their long journey, and while they are on the road, they come across a herd of elephants. He slaughters for the elephants because they respect him very much. After that, they continue on their way and reach a grassy land where buffaloes live. But Bagheera suddenly senses danger and passes by. Bagheera orders Mowgli to run to the valley and heads north immediately. But Mowgli, as usual, objects, and Bagheera ignores it and remains focused on something in the grass that he sees moving. Suddenly, Shere Khan appears. Bagheera saves Mowgli at the last second, and a fierce battle begins between the two. Although Bagheera was a strong tiger, he was not stronger than Shere Khan, and was shaken by him. Shere Khan ran after Mowgli, but what saves Mowgli is that the buffaloes knock Shere Khan over. Mowgli takes advantage of the opportunity and continues running and jumps into the valley. He sees the buffaloes running, afraid of Shere Khan. Mowgli rides one of them and runs away from Shere Khan. Shere Khan asked Akela why. "You didn't hand me the boy?" He said because he decided to live with humans like him, there will be no more problems between us, and we want peace to prevail in the forest. But Shere Khan did not like this, attacked Akela, killed him, and cut off his head with utmost ease. Shere Khan threatened the rest of the wolves and said to them, "I didn't want all this to happen. From now on, this area will be mine. Spread the news of Akela's death throughout the forest until Mowgli finds out and comes back on his own 2 feet. Until he returns, I will not leave here." Raksha was at the peak of terror. We go back to Mowgli, who was sleeping on the back of his buffalo. When he wakes up, he finds them walking on a small hill. He sees a tremor in the mountain. He gets scared and jumps until he falls into the water. He grabs a tree branch until he reaches the north in a terrifying-looking place. He goes to wander in the forest and looks for a cow. Bella finds a huge snake skin. Bella finds some fruit on the tree. He was very hungry, so he takes it and eats it. He reaches a wolf and is greedy until 2 other wolves steal the fruit. Mowgli runs after them and goes up the tree. Then he starts hearing strange sounds. A huge snake appears and says to Mowgli, "I will talk to you until Bagheera arrives." Mowgli says to her, scared, "I am waiting for a friend of mine and I will walk right away." The snake says to him, "Do not be afraid. I will protect you until your friend arrives." Mowgli is deceived and remains standing. Then the snake hypnotizes Mowgli magnetically and melts his mind and tells him about a human who was traveling in the forest and stopped to camp in a cave. All the animals stayed away from him and were afraid of him because of the fire that was with him. But Shere Khan was not afraid and entered the cave to eat him. But the human was able to attack him in the face and cause the injury that is on Shere Khan's face now. But in the end, Shere Khan killed the human and then escaped from the cave to treat his wound. But he did not realize that Mowgli, when he was young, was in the cave with the human and loved Shere Khan. This is Mowgli's father. Then Bagheera appeared and took Mowgli to live with the wolves. From that day on, all the animals became afraid of fire, including Shere Khan himself. After the story ended, the snake successfully hypnotized Mowgli and wrapped its body around him in order to eat him. Mowgli was no longer in the final position, and the snake opened its mouth in order to eat him. But at the last second, a bear appeared and attacked the snake. The snake dropped Mowgli, and Mowgli was unconscious. When he woke up the next day, he found himself in the bear's cave, whose name was Baloo. When Mowgli saw him, he got scared and screamed, but Baloo calmed him, saying, "I am the one who saved your life from the snake, and now you must return the favor." Baloo took him out of the cave and led him to a mountain, saying, "At the top of the mountain, there are many beehives, and I want you to climb up and bring me honey. I cannot do this myself because I am afraid of heights." Mowgli was shocked because it was a difficult task, but he agreed, saying, "I have to eat a lot every day in order to go about my day normally, and I have to store large quantities before winter comes." With Baloo's help, he gathered tree branches and stones to make tools that would help him climb. He succeeded and reached the beehive, but the bees attacked and stung him. Baloo encouraged him to continue and not give up. Mowgli managed to collect large amounts of honey, but he was very tired because of the bee stings. He climbed down and complained to Baloo, who told him, "Put honey on the places where you were stung, and you will feel better." After that walked away because he had finally returned the favor. But Baloo came after him and asked him not to leave. Mowgli told him, "I have to go live with the humans." Baloo offered to take him there. On their journey, they traveled until nightfall, and they arrived and saw the human village from afar. Baloo warned him about the fire that humans light, saying, "Fire is very harmful and destroys everything in its path. It is a human invention, so don't underestimate it." Mowgli was upset that his days and life with the animals would end and said, "I never imagined that one day I would leave the forest." Baloo said to him, what do you think about staying as you are, a human, but living with me in the forest and collecting a large amount of honey for me before winter? You can leave at any time." Mowgli agreed and said, "I will collect honey for you until winter only." The next morning, Mowgli gathered the tools he would need to climb the mountain and protect himself from bee stings. The small animals helped him. He built a long rope and a basket to drop the honey into, and at the same time, he covered his body with leaves. The friendship between Mowgli and Baloo grew, and they played tug together in the water. One day, they are surprised that Bagheera appears, so Mowgli hugged him, telling what happened with Baloo. But Bagheera got very angry, and he wanted to take him to Human Village. And Baloo tells him to stay here at night and leave tomorrow. At night, while everyone is sleeping, Mowgli hears some elephants screaming in the forest, so he wants to see what is wrong with them. He finds out that a small elephant has fallen into a hole, and they are screaming because they do not know how to get it out. He takes his own ropes to make them and uses them to pull the little elephant out of the hole. By morning, they were awake and saw what he had done. He is proud of himself. He says to Bagheera that Mowgli is a talented boy. Don't let him go. Let him live in the forest, as he is a human. Bagheera says to him, Shere Khan is chasing him and killed a Kala, and he won't stop until he reaches Mowgli. Baloo is shocked and gets very afraid for Mowgli. He is shaken by Bagheera's words and goes to talk to Mowgli and says to him, "You have to leave anyway. Winter is coming, and you won't be able to live with me." Mowgli gets upset and says to him, "I want to live with you because we are friends." Suddenly, Baloo says, "We aren't friends at all. I was just using you to bring me honey, nothing more. I don't want you around anyone else." Mowgli is in shock and leaves. Mowgli was sitting on top of a tree, extremely sad. Suddenly, a group of monkeys appeared and started to chase him. They kept carrying him around on the tree. Bagheera and Baloo tried to catch him, but Bagheera couldn't climb trees like the monkeys. So, he started running on the ground until he reached a lake. He couldn't cross it, but his mind kept falling into the water, and he jumped off it and crossed to the other side. But in the end, the monkeys climbed the mountain, and Bagheera couldn't climb like them. The monkeys took Mowgli to a big palace. Bagheera and Baloo tried to climb the mountain, even though Baloo had never climbed anything in his life. He risked his life to save Mowgli, while the monkeys pushed Mowgli to enter their palace. There Mowgli saw drawings of monkeys enslaving humans. Then they hid until the Monkey King appeared. The one named Louie reveals the size of the giant, and at that time, Bagheera and Baloo were able to climb the mountain and advance to enter the palace. Louie says to Mowgli, "I heard that you want to live in the forest, but in return, you're like any human. You can make fire," but he told him he can't make fire. Louie feels that Mowgli is deceiving him, so he gets angry at him. Then Baloo enters alone and keeps glorifying Louie and says to him, "I am very happy that I saw a great and legendary king like you, and I climbed all this distance to see you." He continues to thank and glorify the rest of the monkeys, and everyone is busy with him. At that time, Bagheera enters from another place and signals to Mowgli to pull him and walk quietly. Indeed, Mowgli moves with Bagheera, and Louie does not notice, but there is a monkey who sees them and shouts. The monkeys chase them, and Baloo goes out with them. He and Bagheera stand to fight those monkeys, hoping that Mowgli can escape. But Louie gets up from his place and hits Mowgli himself, and is able to corner him and stops him in his tracks, and says to him, "Do not run away and stay with me." Mowgli says to him, "I want to go back to Akela." Louie says to him, "You did not hear about what happened. Shere Khan killed him and might have killed the entire wolf pack." Mowgli is shocked and does not want to believe him, and runs out again. Louie chases him, and Mowgli runs away from him inside the palace. Louie runs after him and destroys the pillars of the palace in his tracks, and Mowgli runs from him to the forest. Louie realizes that he destroyed the palace on it, and then the monkeys run to remove the rubble to bring out their king. Mowgli remains alive and is in the tree, and asks Bagheera if Akela was really killed. Then he says to him, "He really was killed, but we were going to tell you." Mowgli is shocked that they knew all this time, and no one told him. He says to him, "I must act and revenge for him." He goes running and goes to the human village, and despite his fear of the village, he is able to steal a torch of fire and return with it to the wolf pack. But a spark falls to the ground from him, but he doesn't notice. But all animals is afraid of the fire, so they ran to the water to protect themselves from the fire. After some time, Mowgli arrived, calling for Shere Khan, and says, "I am no longer afraid of you. Yeah, and none of the animals will be afraid of you again." But he told him that the animals now is afraid from the fire. He looks behind him and sees the forest on fire because of him, and the animals are avoiding him, even the wolves he used to live with. Shere Khan says to him, "Prove to humans that I am right." But he throws fire into the water to prove to the animals that he doesn't want to harm them. Shere Khan is happy and says to him, "This is the most foolish move you have ever made in your life." He advances towards him to attack him, but Bagheera and all the animals advance as well, and he stands next to Mowgli. Shere Khan is not afraid and runs towards them, and Bagheera takes the lead in front of him. But Bagheera couldn't stand for long because he is not a predatory animal. Shere Khan can attack Shere Khan in the meeting, but Bagheera stops Mowgli and says to him, "Fight in your own way and with human methods." Mowgli is convinced and runs towards the fire, while the wolf is trying to fight with Shere Khan, but they were not able to do anything to him. Shere Khan sees Mowgli from afar and runs after him, so Bug intervenes and kills him. A fierce battle takes place between them, but for the second time, Bagheera is shaken, and Mowgli reaches the dead tree and thinks of a certain plan and sets traps to kill Shere Khan. At the same time, the wolves attack Shere Khan again, but Shere Khan pushes him off his path and goes to chase Mowgli. Mowgli had finished his traps and was catching Shere Khan at one point. He goes to a weak tree trunk. When Shere Khan follows him, Mowgli keeps saying, "I am not afraid of you." Shere Khan gets angry and jumps on him, but Mowgli runs away and the tree trunk breaks. Shere Khan stops the fire and dies. Thus, Mowgli was able to defeat him using methods and the intelligence of humans, and sees in front of him the elephants that he helped before, and rides on the back of the elephant that saved him, and returns with him to the animals, and they are happy that he was able to win, and came out alive. And after that the elephants break some trees, and he diverts the watercourse to the forest, towards the fire, and the fires are extinguished. The wolves are happy. Bagheera says a little boy was able to unite all the animals for one goal. The next morning, things in the forest returned to calm and a state of stability, and Bagheera was conducting a new test for Mowgli. And Mowgli was able to outperform the wolves in the speed race, and this time he is using his method as a human and not a wolf. Mowgli decides to live in the forest forever, and here we have reached the end of the episode. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get more news.